He is the president of Beast Developmental and the father of NBA star Kelly Oubre Jr. We now welcome Kelly Oubre Sr. onto Hoopsology. How's it going, Kelly?
Everything's going fine. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining the show. Really appreciate it. So one of the first questions that we ask our guests is their relationship with the game of basketball. So we'll just ask you first, when did you first fall in love with the game of basketball, and kind of when did you first kind of capture that kind of magical feeling of this game that would become a big part of your life?
Well, first of all, let me just do a housekeeping issue I normally do on my podcast, and just to get the audience in tune to the fact that I operate with. If you guys can mimic my actions, do this, do this, do this. Show me your palms. Show me the back. Show me your palm. That just symbolizes I operate with clean hands. So whatever I tell you, it's from the heart. It's meant in good. It's meant to be uplifting and as encouraging as possible. Now, to your question, when did I fall in love with it? The funny thing about it was I was involved in bitty basketball. New Orleans, Louisiana. NOR, New Orleans Recreation Department, sponsored bitty basketball. Little yellow ball, lowered rim with a lowered backboard with this big brace they had to put on the regular size 10-foot goals. And it was recreation at first, but it became more of a camaraderie piece with a lot of the guys that we grew up with who actually didn't have we were so young that the park is what we gravitated to. So whatever sport was in season, that was a sport we played. Sometimes we had baseball practice in the morning and football practice in the evening. If the seasons overlap, the sports overlap. So I fell in love with it because it was another way for me in inner city New Orleans to bond with my friends. And it was a beautiful time because it was still a time of innocence. And a lot of the epidemics had not struck yet. You know what I mean? Back in we're talking the 70s, we're talking the early 80s. So during that time, it was a very good time that wasn't inundated with any of the social ills of today and some of the things that our communities all over the country have gone through or continue to go through. So I think, and out of that came a lot of prominent individuals from the New Orleans area, but I knew them as little boys. We had that kindred spirit and just simple things in common like sports. And that's how I fell in love with basketball. And through the New Orleans Recreation Department, and ironically, my son was involved in the New Orleans Recreation Department when he fell in love with basketball also, which is like a very an irony, if you will. So.
Kelly, could you just go over, just doing some research on you and your son, just the role of martial arts and how that played a role in just his shifting to his love of game of basketball. I know that he got his black belt in karate when he was 8. I find that, a lot of other NBA players, some of them have a martial arts background as well. How did that figure into, eventually him becoming, getting that passion for basketball and, playing in the NBA?
Thank you for that question. Sometimes I've always had a method to my madness since 12/9/95 when Kelly was born. I did a lot of studying of history, a lot of research. And do you guys see that pop up when it happens or no?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off. But I did a lot of studying of previous civilizations and how were men, little boys, transitioned into manhood in previous civilizations. So I came across, when Kelly was a baby, the Agoge principle, Agoge. You need to look it up, take a look at it. Agoge principle was almost like a rite of passage, a rite of manhood. But in ancient times and times to present day, it's centered around the physicality of manhood. Us standing on our square, drawing a line in the sand and defending our position based on fact, not emotion. If you look at movies like 300, you look at movies like Gladiator, you see the kids fighting with swords at a young age. This was things that they did all day to be warriors. And it became fun to them. Now, in my mind, with Kelly, I knew I could not implement full Agoge principles because it wasn't the time for that. Because we're talking ancient times, and this is all they know because they had to fend off enemies at the gate. So how could I infuse a little sense of combat, the combative mentality where he could harness and control. It could help him with discipline, and he could be doing it and make it fun at the same time. Because one thing about growing up, as I did, I had my fair share of physical altercations. And once I got punched in the mouth and I tasted blood and it didn't kill me, I realized, you know what? This is not the end all be all, and this didn't break me. So I could live another day, put it that way. Now, from that point forward, do I want to live physically, mentally, or a combination of both? So how could I infuse this principle in my son in a rudimentary form where it could be applied to present day, and he could use it as a positive springboard going into whatever he wanted to do moving into the future? But at least at a young age, he had that as a foundational piece to refer back to. And it's funny because with his black belt in Taekwondo, he wanted to quit towards his second to last belt. And I made a deal with him. I says, look, I've had my Agoge principle working the whole time since the first class, sparring and all that stuff when he went through all those different levels of belts. He didn't know that because he was too young to know that. But I had a blueprint in play. Beast Developmental was in the works here. So what I did was I made him a deal. I says, look, if you get your black belt, you don't have to get any of the degrees that come with it, because I wanted to use that as a foundational piece moving forward into life. And I said, at that point, you can do whatever you want to do. Sports, piano, song, dance, ballet. I don't care. The foundation's already set as far as I'm concerned. I have a reference point I can always go back to and bring him back to center, if you will, in the event times got tougher later on and he was at that crossroads again where he had a decision of, do I quit or do I persevere? Well, look, you persevered here and you wanted to quit. So let's apply that same mentality to this situation. If you're in doubt, let's talk about it. And if you make a strong enough point, I may have to pull back and say, okay, if this is what you really want to do, knowing what you've done in the past, I can respect your decision now for the right reasons, because it's based on logic and not emotion. And you can articulate your thoughts because you've had success when failure was right there for you to choose either or. So I hope I answered your question the best I could with regards to the Agoge principle in my mindset at the time since he was born. And after that, ironically, his sport became basketball, because up to that point, I had him in my pocket the whole time anyway, coming to the gym with me. He was a baby and watching us play basketball, grown men, a bunch of washed up daddy coaches. But I was playing with former pros. I was playing with college guys. I was playing, and he was just watching the whole time. And I would bring him to the gym. I brought him everywhere with me, everywhere. So that was the opening to his basketball experience. And I honestly, a culmination of how I transferred the beauty of the game right there to him.
Kelly, let me ask, I have two kids. I have a father, and I'll be looking to, steer my kids towards athletics in some point. And I think, I wonder what your thoughts are on, as someone who has a professional athlete as a son. There's been debates. I'm sure you're well aware of this, of specificity versus like generalizing for developing athleticism, kind of like dipping your toes in a lot of things or being a specialist in one given sport. Can you talk about just your feelings on that, and in terms of developing athleticism, developing even more broader, just, greatness as a human being?
Matt, let me ask you a question, personal question. Boy or girl, or boy and girl, or boys or girls? Your kids?
Both, boy and girl. Yeah.
Okay, from daddy to daddy. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is that in the background? I hear kids.
Maybe. I hope you can't hear them, but yes, they're in the house.
First of all, what I want you to do, boy and girl, is to, whatever you choose, keep it fun. Second of all, let them learn the rules as they go. Because what I find about coming up in the ranks, I was the guy willing to work the clock. I was the guy willing to step in and referee. I was the guy willing to do the books. Hell, I was the guy willing to coach. I was that guy. But I did it for all the right reasons, not because I wanted to be biased or gain an advantage in any one of those places, but it forced me to pay attention to and appreciate the referees that I had issue with when I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I wasn't big enough, I humbled myself in the moment to go to organizations. What do you need? Do you need anything? Not asking. I don't want your shoes. We don't want your money. I don't want any of that. All I want is for Kelly the stage. Matt, put them on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let them see what the stage, all the workings of the stage. You know, the curtain guy, the guy who preps the stage, the actor, the director, the producer. That's just trying to bring my point about all the moving parts, the common man up to what we call the CEO, if you will. Well, I have this analogy about that, and this is a perfect thing to pass on to your kids, like I passed on to Kelly. I want you to respect everyone in the building because I call it the janitor CEO concept. CEO's on the 10th floor, janitor's on the first floor. A fire breaks out on the 5th floor. Who we calling to get out of the building if we're from 5 on up? We're calling a janitor. But leading up to the fire, everybody called on the CEO to make decisions for the building because now the CEO is calling for the janitor. So in that moment, it's almost like a role reversal of who's important and who's not. Who's in power, who's not. First law, 48 laws of power, never outshine the master. First, you got to establish who the master is. So with regards to your kids and how I raised my son, I try to speak from experience, okay, and convey that so I'm not pulling stuff out of the sky or statistics show 4 out of 5 doctors. I don't hear all that. Let me tell you how I did it. I always, like I said, kept him in my pocket, and I was always willing to explain to him situational basketball, situational taekwondo, agoge principles, speaking in terms of you will as opposed to you the man or coaches tripping. We don't make excuses in this house. Even to this day, he relies on those principles when he's being interviewed. He's interacting with coaches. Coaches come up to me all the time. You know, he's very respectful, and he's been respectful through the years. Even in the most trying of times, if you will, because I was never a daddy who compromised myself by leading with my hand out. Therefore, I never compromised him where he could come back to me and one day say, Daddy, you know, somebody told me you took money or you took inducements for me to be in this situation. No, it was never that. Because I always let it be known when I walked in, Matt, on day one, Kelly may play on your team or be part of your organization, but his debt is going to be paid in his current sweat equity. That's it. So don't think you found him or you're going to be tied to him at the hip forever. You can introduce him to your little friends. No. Everything comes through me, the front door. But I had to, Matt, also not be Jurassic in the process, and I had to learn and grow with him as the game changed for him in his eyes. Because I can't keep talking about a high school situation and he's in college. I can't talk about college right now and he's in the pros. Mm-hmm. So for the people I meet on the way up too, in every aspect of the game, I got to walk it like I talk it or practice what I preach. So the message I would like for you and my other trusted advisors, because you are a trusted advisor in their eyes, because you are their point of contact that they can trust with that biological connection that they will need forever. Is it going to be a marathon and not a sprint? Of course it will. Will you get this golden rain, this leprechaun gold pieces at the end of the rainbow? No. You might be lucky to get a gold tone watch out of it, you know, and that might be the nicest watch you have in your collection at some point. So just polish that gold tone watch for your services, sir, or that pair of socks or that tie, you know. But I think to your point and to the point I'm making, because I get emotional about this when parents ask me about this, because I know what it means to them, the sacrifices that happen every day. And sometimes I get these, well, you're a single father. No, I'm a father who happens to be single. You know, so the single fatherhood definition works for the single motherhood definition. But it also works for the 2-parent household definition also. You know, we have to be in these situations based on circumstance or a catastrophic event, but that happened already. What's going to happen from this point forward? So from daddy to daddy, I think help them appreciate everything they can at a young age, because in ninth grade, everything changes anyway. Because in ninth grade, what happens? Let me tell you what happens. You meet that kid from around the corner, right? Who is obvious that the next 3 years he's going to give somebody hell. All right? Because he was already on the AAU circuit and walked into high school with 2 boxes full of letters already. So he was that kid around the corner nobody ever saw. But he was already in the Nike and Adidas summer ball leagues throughout his middle school years. So those kids who were incoming freshmen with him in high school, no, they didn't know him, but they got to know him very quickly when basketball season started. Because he was the kid still gone every weekend, but he was the kid showing up to play, and he had something extra about him. Therefore, he was that alpha male, if you will, with agoge principles tied in every step of the way. So boy and girl, young ladies have an interesting path outside of the boys, but the boys have an interesting path too, because in both situations, nothing's guaranteed. Therefore, nurture her femininity, okay? Nurture his masculinity. You know, I don't know if mom's involved or whatever, but I think that we have to make sure they understand their position, not only in their childhood state, but as they mature into their adulthood. So we can't look in the mirror and say, you know what, damn, I think I did my kid a disservice by lying to them too long ago about the requirements of life itself, not sport, life.
Right.
But we can use sport as that vehicle to convey our messages, like I did with Kelly. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Kelly, I just wanted to ask you, you mentioned AAU, and I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on just how Kelly went through that system, because I talked to other friends of mine who are not really sports fans, and they seem not to really understand just the role AAU plays in all sports. Can you just kind of explain how that was a big I guess, formulation of his development into him playing at Kansas and him end up in the pros?
Okay. The thing it did for Kelly early on in life was he was exposed to a lot of the guys he's playing in the NBA with right now. That's what AAU does. You see him in the baby stages. You see the puppies. You see the gangly guys who are tripping over their feet with a size 15 shoe in the second grade, that type stuff. But now you look at them now, their bodies have caught up to their feet. And, hey, man, I remember you. Remember when we were in 4th grade and we saw each other for the first time? The conversation, and that's what AAU does as an introduction piece. Now, AAU is kind of 3-dimensional. Let me break it down for you. AAU is an introductory piece to some of the guys that will be, quote unquote, anointed along the way, because a lot of those guys will make it, but a lot of those guys will fall off for various reasons. So I think as a trusted advisor, which I am to Kelly, which I try my best to encourage parents or people with biological connections or close to athletes for the right reasons to maintain that position of power, make it a parallel journey. Don't make it a singleized journey for the athlete, because he's going to need somebody every step of the way, preferably somebody who's been there from the beginning so they can refer to points along the way to bring them back to center, or to know those same people he knows too. Which brings me to the second phase, the middle phase. We're talking, okay, from the AAU circuit, you still have to go to middle school. You still have to go to high school. And therein that parallel journey begins, I spoke about a little earlier, where these guys walking into the 9th grade were already, if they weren't anointed, they were on the radar. Okay, there's something different about him or her. So with that being said, that's that middle ground you must walk. And the third dimension is, let's say they make it to college and get a degree out of it. That, to some people, is success enough. Not only because it has to be, and it's obvious that they're not going any further in the game, but with that piece of paper, they can walk into, let's say, the way it used to be, a job situation, now a podcast situation, or a degreed introduction situation through the alumni with people they met along the way as they were building relationships the whole time. So if we look at introductions to relationships in the first dimension with the athletes that they grew up with, middle school, same introductions, see the same guys now, the influx of high school situations, introductions, or friends into the picture, coaches into the picture, styles into the picture of everybody, expectations into the picture, into that upper level, upper echelon, college and beyond. It's all building blocks along the way that young athletes and trusted advisors, because I try to promote the two. Because I refuse to be another parent sitting by watching some kid who can drop 40 a night, but he's getting funded by a hidden hand. Yeah. And he's going home to God knows what, because let me just say, in Kelly's situation, everything was cute until draft night. Everything I was doing was because the crazy man was doing it. And are you making him do this, or is he doing this because he wants to? It's funny how those questions went away on draft night. Because all of a sudden, oh, you were serious the whole time. Yeah. You know, well, damn, how do we hold on to this moving train now? I said, well, I hope you have strong arms, because we're not slowing down for anybody, you know, and this was an extension to family and friends. And perceived friends. Or some people who I consider justifiers, not clarifiers, because a trusted advisor is a clarifier. I can clarify 1,000 times information that we know to be true. A justifier has to keep trying to justify why they've shown up all of a sudden and why they're here and why they should stay, you know, because basically the diamond doesn't know you, the athlete doesn't know you, the trusted advisor doesn't know you. Where the hell did you come from and who sent you? And what do you want? Because once again, not only are you a justifier, you're also one of many now. Because I got a lot of people showing up on draft night or upon my college graduation when or on draft night when I went undrafted and I still got to prove myself. Now all of a sudden I still get justifiers coming in because, man, I knew you were going to make it the whole time. Stop lying, man.
Yep.
Stop lying. You know, stop lying. So the process, I try to do things in a 3-dimensional process because the 3rd dimension a lot of times is not totally complete yet, like in our situation. Kelly's still a pro. He's still in his career, and it's been a healthy graduation every step of the way. And I hope I did the best I could by showing you the introductions in the younger years turned into a parallel introductions in the middle years, which graduated into that 0.003% of the guys who actually make it to the pros for various reasons. Because this is damn near like a gauntlet that they're running with all these snakes, pits, what do they call it? The Ironman competition or CrossFit or something like that. You know, just or a combination. What's the thing on TV where the stuff is coming at you? You know, that's kind of
Wipeout or Ninja Warrior.
Yeah, Wipeout. It's like
yeah.
that's in a nutshell. That's what this shit is. Wipeout. I don't mean to curse. This is Wipeout, dude. All right, this is Wipeout. So Matt, get your kids ready for Wipeout. All right. Let them go in the back.
No.
The ropes. This is Wipeout, man. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Wipeout.
Kelly, you brought up draft night earlier. Can you just take us through what your mentality was? You must have been so proud during that night. Usually we see it from like the player's perspective, what they were going through. What about yourself? What were you going through during that night? What were your emotions? What was that feeling when you finally heard his name called?
Well, I don't want to sound arrogant. I'm just going to sound confident with this. It was almost like, well, okay, we're supposed to be here. And his mom looked across the table. She says, why aren't you crying? I says, well, because I had custody of Kelly since he was 3 years old. And it's not a diss to his mom. She saw the fact that I'd probably do a better job raising a young man. And I told her, look, let me take this. Let me take care of this. And the door's always open, always willing to bring him back to New Orleans, whatever. But So kudos to his mom. That night, it was a culmination of it was going to be dessert or it was going to be disaster. That was it. The big talk was, would he go in the lottery, the draft lottery, the first 13 or 14? My thing was I was more concerned about fit than the lottery because ironically, a lot of the guys who went before him, they have 1 foot out of the league right now, or they're on 1-year deals, or one guy has gone overseas already who was drafted very high in that draft. So when people get into this lottery talk and, is that going to be the success we talked about? I got to be a lottery pick. Okay, well, you might be very mindful of where you end up as a lottery pick fit-wise because they may be stacked 2 or 3 deep in that position you're walking into. And you may not see your second contract for various reasons because technically your wipeout is still continuing. So that whole I've arrived mentality, well, your bank account may have arrived, but you still are a baby in an incubator, or you're at the beginning stages of the next phase of wipeout. And I hope you're ready for it because the you the man speeches won't help you. The phone calls won't help you. You have to go and play amongst grown men now who realize that you are there to replace them. So that puts things into perspective really fast. And hopefully, once again, as I tie back to Beast Developmental in my motto, I hope you have a trusted advisor every step of the ways that you can call back to explain the new things you see now through your lens. And they can bring you back to center and y'all can grow together because both of y'all should have been learning along the way and not just listening to all the praise and all the trophies and all the new friends you have. All that stuff it really doesn't hold any weights when you step into these professional locker rooms because these are grown men. And I'm just going to say this because I full transparency, like I said, some guys have been anointed to be in those positions, even though they have no leadership skills. They've been handed the ball. They've been guaranteed we're going to run 20 plays. We're going to run plays for you. And if you want to sit on the ball and kill shot clocks and take the shot you want, we'll live with that too. Some guys just won't be that guy. Since you're here, you can be that guy for us because we drafted you so high and we have to justify the pick and we also have to justify your payroll. So that's the reality of how this works. Now, once again, you can go back to that coach is tripping nonsense, but actually coach doesn't care and coach probably doesn't even know you. So therefore, what do you bring differently to the team? Are you coachable? Do you understand what true assistant coaches can do for you? Because they can be great conversational guys about systems and what was here before you showed up, Mr. 5-star, Mr. College All-American. I was here, or I played in the league, or I've been coaching for 30 years already as an assistant coach. Hey, man, let me talk to you. Let me pick your brain about what I'm walking into, what I'm in the middle of, and what you've seen along the way, and how this game, this situation, or this career has evolved. That's why I preach trusted advisor. I keep tying it back to Beast Developmental because you need the trusted advisor. And in career situations, to the point about your kids, Matt, they may have to gravitate to a mentor who's good at what they do, just totally outside of the workplace. And that's we as individuals, we have to humble ourselves to know when we meet good people because we're willing to learn. We're spongy. All your great basketball players, football players, badminton players, hockey players, they've all been students of the game, students of a career, willing to do the things and sacrifice themselves along the way for the riches that come with it. That could be monetary riches. That could be career riches. That could be, I'm the CEO now. Damn, this is what a big office looks like. Because I've earned the right to be. I wasn't given this. And a lot of the guys who have things given to them too quick, it's like that first car you get. If they gave it to you, you're not going to appreciate it, man. You're going to drive it like you stole it. You're not going to know how to change a flat tire. If you earn that car, you bought that car, you know what? Damn, let me check. Now I know what tire pressure is. You know? I know what a donut is now.
100%, yeah.
or if you're low on cash, I know what a Maypop is. You know what a Maypop is? You know what a Maypop is, Matt?
I don't know.
A Maypop is a tire on your car that may pop or it may not. That's how you can afford, all right? so when you ride by and you see the guy selling those used tires, that's all Maypops, all right?
Gotcha.
If that's all your pocket, that's all you can afford, you might be riding on 4 Maypops, is what I'm saying, guys. So get ready for the journey, as you move forward as a young athlete, a trusted advisor, but be respectful of all the coaches, the good, the bad, and the ugly. All the people along the way, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it took me, coming through the game with Kelly the second time around to realize that, you know what, let me humble myself. A re-humbling, if you will. Because a lot of this stuff I missed along the way because I didn't have a trusted advisor, or I didn't have the age to see it through another set of eyes, or this lens, this graduate, elevated, or mature lens I have now.
I have another question for you, Kelly. It's no secret your son has tons of highlights in the league, and I just want to get your opinion. What has been your favorite highlights so far? I mean, there's just so much posters he's done on people. Just so many kind of jaw-dropping moments so far in his career. Does anyone stands out to you as this? You're like your mouse on the floor. You're like, holy cow!
Probably the first time he dunked on somebody in the 8th grade, and me talking him up to that moment. And I think because the things that he does now, I'm his dad first and foremost, because if he sees me in a fanboy role, that might change things with our relationship. So I'm daddy first and foremost. So the most proud moment was when he did it in the 8th grade. And he was respectful. And I told him, the first time you do it, okay, it's cute. But this is how I want you to do it. I want you to flip the point guard at half court, because he was long already. He was getting there. He was aggressive because of his karate. And I told him to tip up, tip drill, tip up, flip him, get it, go dunk. He did it. I said, the first time is going to be cute. The second time, he's not going to want the ball anymore when you come around. That's the fear. That's the way you impose your will on the dominant ball handler. You make him think about his moves, because one thing about a good point guard, you can't speed him up. But if the pressure is defeating him and he's failing under the pressure you're imposing on him, then you're going to make him do something he's not used to doing. Good point guards, they don't think, they just play. They've grown into that space. They have some basically some little junior wizards in the NBA right now and in college. You can't strip them if you try, because they know positioning of body between man and ball. They know distance. They know gauge. They know angles. They attack shoulders. Me and Kelly talk situational basketball all the time. And he can pretty much tell me why he commits fouls now. Because I broke discipline for 5 seconds. I got greedy and I shot on him when he wasn't ready, or it was too early in the shot clock. Because at some point, because the point guard can see something you can't. He can see the whole other 9 guys. As a defender, all you can see is him. So looking at it that way, it's just you and him on an island at that point. So that's why Kelly doesn't get killed when he gets caught in switches, because he can go from the 1 to the 2 to the 3 to the 4 and sometimes the 5. Because I've trained him that way. I need you strong at every position to be able to not only attack every position, but to defend every position too. So to your point, back in the 8th grade, when it let me just say this, when it meant the most, that's when, I was enamored by it. And I was like, oh, okay, so you're listening, because it meant the most at that point. Now, Daddy, I'm hunting 7-footers. All right, Kelly. That's and he does it. No disrespect to the guys. He loves it, but he wants to be super competitive too. Now he's battling a bunch of knick-knack injuries, and I'm watching him. But I told him, I said, look, man, just give your team what you can give your team. If you can slow the other guy down and keep him under average by 10 points, you've given your team what you can give your team. Maybe you can't produce on the offensive end, but this is a dynamic here in Golden State. Whereas if you give your team what you can give your team, you have guys around you that are coachable guys under Coach Kerr and his staff. This is a different dynamic that he's never been used to, because the last two stops, it was ball dominant guys, or quite frankly, Everest, don't be mad at me. A lot of guys just want to be the best player on a bad team. Let me just say that. And they're comfortable with that because they get paid. They get to look good every night. But team success that's y'all's problem, not mine. I got my money. So to put it in perspective, like I said, with all due respect, even respect to those guys, because those guys make those guys who are not in that position even hungrier, even want to succeed more, because it's funny, about knowing who the hot guys are, and because the athletes know before anybody does. So mom and daddy, you can drive to the game with that "you the man" speech all you want, but see that kid number 5? I can't do anything with him. So on the way home, y'all can fuss at me if y'all want. I did the best I could, and he lit me up for 50. But like I told y'all before the game started, I can't do anything with him. He's on some other stuff. So when it meant the most, Justin, that's when it meant when it meant the most to him, that's when it meant the most to me.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Kelly, I want you to just go into detail about Beast Developmental. You mentioned it earlier. What are the things that, from raising Kelly, just your son, went into creating and crafting Beast Developmental and your vision for that?
Well, like I said, I wanted to make it not so singular, and more of a unit, a position where a support mechanism was already in place. We know you as an athlete, if you, let's say you're of a certain height, of a certain skill level developed over time due to various reasons, you'll get some looks, you'll get understood, you'll be anointed, if you will. Somebody's going to, want to claim you. I found that kid. I was the first one to see him, yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, it's best to understand that having somebody next to you who can talk to you at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning when you've had your worst game of your life, you're broken, but you got to build it back up very quickly, because you can't stay broken for very long. Using that as a reference point or as a point of contention to have a conversation in real time about is what you want to be as a trusted advisor. Because Beast Developmental, we're here for the support, to support the trusted advisors first, while they support the young diamond, and we can support the young diamond too. I look at it like a little triangle. If you look at my diagram, and I was thinking about this, okay, how can I? It was me fighting with this thing for about 5 years about how can I streamline the logo to get all the minutia out of it. I can have 10,000 things, but Beast Development at the top, acting as a drone, hovering over the whole logo and all the entities. The diamond in the middle, inside 3 very thick walls. That's his castle. To the right, trusted advisor. So between Beast Developmental, the drone, the diamond, and trusted advisor, we formulate a triangle of support. Under that is his peers, okay? Because we want our young diamonds to understand we will always support you, and we will always view you as a cut above your peers. The peers are great for motivation, but they're also great when you conquer them also. You can conquer them respectfully, but because they're trying to conquer you. So that's why I strategically placed them subliminally underneath the diamond at all times. If you go up to the left, we're going clockwise, you see governing bodies. That's who we answer to as grown men, our bosses. That's the entities in which we play. That's the NCAA, NBA, any entity that you have to answer to who sets forth the laws that we have to adhere to, or there will be consequences, or there will be accolades given if you do everything to the letter. So that's the breakdown of my logo in Beast Developmental. And each part of that is streamlined. It's concise. It serves a purpose. it's pretty much, I've trimmed all the fat off the logo, off the premise, off the concept. Because I want to get down to the things that matter the most. What matters the most is Beast Developmental, we oversee it as a drone. You as a diamond, encasing your walls, protected, but understanding that you are a diamond. You could be a rock. No, I want you to be a diamond because diamonds hold weight in our society. Trusted advisor to the right, because support systems are here for you at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I don't care what time it is. Just call me. Peers at the bottom, because that's where they need to be. Let's be real. You want your competition at the bottom. All right. And you can have fun, you can have friends, but when the game starts, hey man, I'm gonna have to take care of this game, and we can talk about it after the game. And that governing body piece, the coaches, the organization, that has to be respected because they've earned the right to be respected. They've set forth the parameters in which these athletes, or in a career setting, employees have to play by. So they must be respected. We might not always agree with it, but we got to respect the fact that they built this house that we're playing inside of. So let's be real with that. And let's not get into that, well, this place will burn down if I leave. No, it won't. No, it won't. Your replacement is in the break room right now eating a ham sandwich. That's it. So that's the premise behind Beast Developmental. And I wanted to, once again, keep this thing as streamlined and skinny and as understandable to a toddler, or somebody in their 70s or 80s who want to adapt this and incorporate this into how they do their daily works.
Gotcha. Well, Kelly, thank you very much for joining the show. Really appreciate it. Please let our listeners and viewers know where they can find you on social media and what projects you're working on with Beast Developmental and anything else you're working on this year.
Got a book coming out latter part of the year, probably December 2021. That's our shoot date. We've been busy with podcasts, of course. I'm talking to anybody and everybody, letting them know I probably give away more information than I try to monetize. Quite frankly, we have other things going on, but it means most to me to at least put parents, if nobody else, or those that really care about the kids genuinely, who can't be compromised, in positions of the power that they already have. They just don't know they have it yet, because there's no greater power to a young athlete than a parent right there with them, who's not willing to throw in their face how much it costs to fund these activities. They don't want to hear that. So
Absolutely.
What? Who cares if you just burn 2 tanks of gas in 3 states? All I want to know is, where's McDonald's? Hey, Dad, you passed 3 McDonald's already, right? Kelly used to do that to me, man. Daddy, you passed 3 McDonald's already. I know I've had 3 McDonald's. Or Whataburger was just thinking Texas. Daddy, you passed 2 Whataburgers. All right. But yeah, at Beast Developmental is where you can find us on social media. We're here. Seek us out. To my trusted advisors out there who really want to talk about the power you have, or any pain points that you want to convert to PowerPoints, give us a shout. I'll be happy to answer questions. Whatever you need, just let me know. And Everest is really good. We're very prompt. Everything comes across our desk every day, and we see it, and we respond to it very quickly, because we believe in giving information in real time, guys. That's what it's all about, because I'm not going to be the one holding information over somebody's head that I know could help them in this situation, because that's the sad thing about it, and I'm glad you brought that up. A lot of the sad part about it is, in a lot of these situations, even with upper level guys, everybody feels they have time. I got so much time. And I'm running into guys right now in the 11th grade in high school wishing they would have listened to me back when they were in middle school, because they always thought not guys so much, but parents, parents are they don't want to admit their mistakes, but I can tell when it's the humbling of them. Give me a call. Okay, well, I haven't talked to you in 10 years, but all of a sudden your son's in the 11th grade. I wonder what this call is going to be centered around. Another call you want me to make on your behalf? Well, at this point, with the 0.003%, it's beyond phone calls, guys. Because either you're the orca or the shark, or you're going to be the chump. So if you've been thinking you had time until 10th, 11th grade in high school, I think it might be chump time. So I think just hit us up at Beast Developmental, and look out for the book, December 2021. And just we're here, guys. I know this may come across as being different, and me operating with clean hands, but quite frankly, I think on the back nine, if we will, after 50, I think it's more important to me to help people, who may need the necessary help, moving into what they want to do with their young athletes and how they want to be stronger and not Jurassic in the process themselves, so they can show value every step of the way. That is what Beast Developmental is designed to do. And like I said, much respect to all those coaches out there, those organizations, those young athletes, those young diamonds, those trusted advisors, those clarifiers, and quite frankly, the justifiers too, because without the guys doing all the things the wrong way, I mean, how could we shine doing things the right way? So, hey, that's what it's all about, man. Welcome to Beast Developmental.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, Kelly. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thanks very much for your time.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly.